Hey everyone, this is Whitten with the Energy Blueprint, and in this video I want to talk to you all about blue blockers. So if you clicked on this video, you probably are already familiar with the basic concept of blue blocking glasses and what they're used for. But what I'm going to show you in this presentation is some information that you're most likely, almost certainty, not already familiar with. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the truth about blue blockers and why your blue blockers may not actually be enough to do what you're using them for. Number two, why you should be wearing blue blocking glasses at night and the problems that happen when you don't. So we're going to talk about the actual health science and medical literature around disrupted circadian rhythm and artificial light exposure at night. Number three, we're going to talk about the 2 reasons why most blue blockers are not effective. Number four, I'm going to show you how to solve those 2 issues. And number 5, I'm going to talk to you about the best blue blocking glasses on the market and why they're the best. First of all, there are 2 basic kinds of blue blockers on the market. And I want to distinguish between these because I'm not talking about both here. There is bedtime use of blue blocking glasses, and there's daytime use of blue blocking glasses. These are different purposes, and basically what's going on here, most commonly what you'll see for the nighttime use blue blockers are amber or orange tinted lenses. For daytime use, a lot of people get confused because a lot of the glasses, the daytime glasses that claim to be blue blockers are clear or sometimes a slight yellow, but oftentimes they're actually perfectly clear and they look like normal glasses. Now, the reason why is that basically the daytime use glasses often only block a part of the blue spectrum, so they don't need to kind of be that lens color of amber or orange, and they can still block that part of the blue spectrum while being mostly clear or just kind of yellowish. On the other hand, if you want to block the entire blue spectrum in terms of the visible blue wavelengths of light, and that's mainly what disturbs circadian rhythm, which is what we're going to talk about in a second, then you really need the amber colored glasses. Now, the story is actually more complex than that. We're going to talk about that in a minute. First of all, you need to understand the concept of the circadian rhythm. So basically, this is the concept that we have a clock, like a literal 24-hour clock in our brains that is regulating our sleep and wake cycle and regulating the release of lots of different neurotransmitters and hormones that affect our energy levels, our mood, our appetite, our metabolism, our energy levels, and so on. And that clock in turn needs to function extremely well and be optimized in order for all of those hormones and neurotransmitters to be optimized. So what controls the circadian rhythm? Well, it's mainly controlled by light. There are a few other factors that influence it, but light is actually the single biggest one. So light is the cue to your brain to be awake, alert, active, and to go into energy mode. Darkness is the cue to the brain to be tired and go into sleep mode. So if this sounds abstract or weird to you in any way, just think for a moment about the fact that every night you get sleepy and then all of a sudden fall asleep and sleep for 8 hours, enter this entirely different state of consciousness. And then the next morning, through no volition of your own, you wake up and all of a sudden feel energy and feel compelled to get out of bed. That's because humans are diurnal animals, which is the opposite of nocturnal. And it means that we are wired from an evolutionary perspective in our biology and in our brain to respond to light cues, and specifically to be awake in that state of awake, alert, active, energetic consciousness during the daytime in response to light, and to be asleep in that other state of consciousness in the darkness. These light cues actually get sensed by our brain through our eyes. The light enters our eyeballs, feeds back into neurons that then feed back into the circadian clock of the brain, which is in the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and that in turn influences hormones, neurotransmitters, and ultimately mood, physiology, cell function, behavior, and so on. Here's the big problem. The modern world that we live in is fundamentally mismatched to the signals that our biology, our circadian rhythm in particular, are designed for. So to get a little deeper into this concept, a strong circadian rhythm is associated with deep sleep, powerful regeneration, and lots of energy during the daytime. So deep sleep at night, lots of energy during the daytime. This is how sleep and energy are connected. They're basically two sides of the same coin. So things which enhance sleep also enhance energy the next day, or especially over time. A blunted circadian rhythm or a weak circadian rhythm is associated with poor sleep, hard time falling asleep, night awakenings, and so on, incomplete cell regeneration, and chronic fatigue, burnout, and tiredness. It's also associated with poor mood and depression, for example, as in seasonal affective disorder. So the primary causes of circadian rhythm disruption. There are two primary causes of circadian rhythm disruption. So on a basic level, just in terms of light, again, leaving out some of these other factors. In terms of light, the two biggies are, number one, we're not getting enough of a daytime energy mode signal into our circadian clock in our brain during the daytime when we should be getting it. That's when we should be getting bright sunlight, outdoor light in the mornings, looking at the sky, whether overcast or sunny. That bright light is critical for setting our circadian rhythm, as well as bright light throughout the day. Most of us are living indoor lives. Most of us spend the first several hours of the day indoors, or we only get outdoors on the way from our homes to the parking lot, or from our parking lot into our office, or something to that effect. So we're living indoor lives. We're separate from this daytime energy mode signal of outdoor bright light, because indoor light is much, much dimmer. And number two, we're getting way too much of a daytime / energy mode signal at night when we should not be getting it. And that is because within the last 100 or 200 years, the invention of electricity and then all sorts of man-made light emitting devices, which has become especially problematic just in the last few decades with the rise of computers and cell phones and TVs and so on. We have all of these different devices that have become a part of our lives that we spend oftentimes several hours on, and all of these things emit lots of blue light. Not really that much of a problem during the daytime, but when we're getting lots of that light at nighttime, now it disturbs our circadian rhythm and unnaturally suppresses melatonin and prevents us from sleeping or falling asleep as fast or sleeping as deeply and getting a very high level of what's called sleep efficiency, which is sort of how restful and regenerative your sleep is for each hour that you're actually in bed. The basic idea being you can sleep 8 hours and for it not to have been that restful and regenerative due to low sleep efficiency, or you can sleep the same exact amount of hours and get very, very restful sleep. So a big part of determining that is the health of your circadian rhythm. And again, this is also influencing factors like mood, energy levels, hunger, metabolic function, and so on, many, many other things. So just to give you an idea of that, disrupted circadian rhythm has now been shown in maybe thousands of studies, but certainly hundreds of studies at this point, linking disrupted circadian rhythm and poor circadian rhythm habits, like being indoors all day or like artificial light exposure at night, to all sorts of inflammatory diseases. And we know also that inflammation, chronic inflammation, drives a range of different diseases, as well as the aging process itself. There's a concept called inflammaging, which sees the chronic inflammation as a key driver of the aging process itself. It will also weaken your immune system and increase your susceptibility to infections. It increases the risk of numerous different types of cancers, and of metabolic syndrome. It increases the risk of cardiovascular diseases. It increases levels of stress hormones. It predisposes to cancer and accelerates cancer tumor growth. It increases the risk of psychiatric disorders and neurodegenerative diseases. It can impair your memory. It can worsen a long list of other diseases. It can increase rates of depression and anxiety. We also, of course, know about seasonal affective disorder, which is driven by disrupted circadian rhythm. It can contribute to fatigue and burnout. And there's also research looking at overall mortality, which is basically your just risk of dying. That disrupted circadian rhythm dramatically increases risks of dying at a particular age. In addition, as a general rule, disrupted circadian rhythm is associated with poor sleep and insomnia, anxiety and depression, poor mental and physical performance, being overweight or putting on fat, and chronic fatigue, lethargy, burnout, stress-related exhaustion. Healthy circadian rhythm function, or optimal circadian rhythm function, is associated with very deep, restful sleep, proper mood regulation, peak mental and physical performance, leanness, and high energy levels. And so just to speak to a few of these points, we already talked about insomnia versus deep restful sleep and how circadian rhythm impacts on that. But it's also influencing levels of neurotransmitters in the brain and throughout the body, which can influence mood. It influences hormones, which can also influence mood and anxiety and depression and joy. It can also influence cognitive function and physical performance. It can also affect the calories in, calories out equation. There's actually research showing that disrupted circadian rhythm can increase appetite and increase cravings, sort of give you the munchies, which ends up causing you to overconsume calories. At the same time, it's promoting lethargy and fatigue, which is affecting the calories out side of the equation, where it's driving down your energy levels and your energy expenditure. So the shifting on both of those sides of things, the driving up of the calories inside of the equation and the driving down of the calories outside, basically pushes the physiology in the direction of fat gain. So that's disrupted circadian rhythm and all the consequences of it. And there are, as I said, hundreds of studies to show all of that. So where do blue light blocking glasses and blue blockers fit into all of this? Basically, after the sun goes down, the human brain is designed for an environment that has little to no light in the spectrum below 550 nanometers and is mostly orange and red, so 550 nanometers and above. The big problem is we have created lots of artificial light sources in our modern technology that have lots of blue and green wavelengths below 550 nanometers, which our brains are basically not designed to see after the sun goes down. Now, in many cases, many of these modern man-made devices are actually mostly blue and green light as their predominant wavelengths. So again, we're living in a world that's pretty much perfectly designed to disrupt our circadian rhythm. So where do blue blockers fit into all this? Well, in order to have a healthy circadian rhythm, you must replicate the environment that your biology is designed for and minimize your exposure to man-made light at night after the sun goes down. There are two options to do this. Number one, of course, is to completely eliminate all sources of artificial light in your home for 2 hours prior to sleep. So not only your computer and TV and phone and indoor lighting, just room lighting in your house or various lamps, things like that, your light in your refrigerator and so on. You could completely eliminate all of those sources of artificial light, but since I know that basically everybody perceives that as very extreme, including me, here's the other solution. Control the light entering your eyes by wearing glasses that specifically block the wavelengths of light from these man-made light sources that affect our circadian rhythm. So you replicate that orange and red light that we get from firelight and candlelight. and avoid the blue and green light that there is so much of in modern man-made lighting and artificial devices, TVs, computers, phones, and so on. So how do you actually do this? Well, this is where blue blockers fit in. However, we've had these blue blockers around for actually decades now. They were first popularized for daytime use, but now have since been adopted widely and for the purposes of nighttime use for this exact reason, to block out the blue light, keep the circadian rhythm healthy and strong, keep melatonin levels high, and get all of the benefits on energy levels, mood, happiness, fat loss versus fat gain, and so on, that come with having a strong circadian rhythm. So block the blue light from entering your eyes with blue blockers, problem solved, right? Well, that's what we thought for several decades. It's what I have taught for a long time, but there's been a big breakthrough when it comes to blue blockers. And the breakthrough is this. It is not only blue light that affects our circadian rhythm and suppresses melatonin. It's not only blue light that acts as that daytime light signal that is setting the circadian clock saying it's daytime, the time to be awake, alert, active, and energetic. It's not just blue light. It's actually green light as well. Now, there's several studies that have shown this at this point. If you're watching the video to this presentation, you see that I'm showing these studies on the screen. There's Division of Sleep Medicine from Harvard Medical School with an article saying green light affects circadian rhythm. Green light exposure can reset the body clock from Health Day News. And here's the study it's based on, and so on. So there's several studies that have found this both in lots of other animals, but also now in humans. So contrary to popular belief, contrary to even what I taught for many years, and contrary to what pretty much everybody is teaching for the most part, it's not just blue light that has this daytime signal effect in the circadian rhythm in our brain. It's also light in the green wavelengths. So the solution at this point is basically this. It's not just blue light that matters, but green light as well. So to optimize your circadian rhythm and sleep, you need glasses that block both blue and green light. Now, here's a simple test. If you want to just verify that this is the case, take your blue blocking glasses that you have currently, and you can do this test. If you're watching the video, you can do it right now. Or if you're listening to this presentation, you can go to the page for this video and this podcast to theenergyblueprint.com/best blue light glasses with a hyphen in between each word. So best blue light glasses, theenergyblueprint.com, best blue light glasses. So once you get to that page, you can scroll down and there's a section with a test. And basically it's a big blue block and a big green block. And you put your glasses on. You can see that they're blue and green normally, but if you put your blue blockers on, what you'll see is that the one that's blue turns basically to black. It now looks black because all of that blue light from that square is being blocked. But what you'll notice is that the green square doesn't change at all. Now, if you had blue and green light blocking glasses, what you'd see is that green almost turns to a gray. All the green color kind of leaves it. And at the same time, the blue turns to black. So you can test this yourself. You can just go to that page. There's also similar tests on other websites. But that's the basic gist. If you want to check if your blue blockers actually do block blue and green light, or if they've been letting the green light through. So here's why this matters. Again, after the sun goes down, we're designed for an environment that has little to no light in the spectrum below 550 nanometers and is mostly orange and red light. So if you're watching the video, here's an image of the electromagnetic spectrum. You can see on one end, there are things like gamma rays and X-rays, which have very short wavelengths. And then it goes into the visible light spectrum. We get into ultraviolet, and then we get into Roy G. Biv, or backwards. is violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. So that's as the wavelengths are getting longer, and then we get into near infrared and far infrared, and then we get into microwaves and radio waves. So that's the overall electromagnetic spectrum. A portion of this is light in the visible blue wavelengths. And again, it's specifically light below 550 nanometers, which is somewhere around here, and in the yellow area. So basically, if you picture a rainbow, everything below yellow, which is indigo, violet, blue, and green, all of those things can potentially disrupt circadian rhythm, but especially blue and green. Now, green light does not do it as strongly as blue. So it's still predominantly blue light that has the strongest effect, but green light does have that daytime signal, melatonin suppressing signal in the brain, and does disrupt circadian rhythm, but to a lesser degree. So again, the bottom line here is that you need glasses. You want glasses if you care about your health and your circadian rhythm and your energy levels and your sleep and your mood and so on. You want not just blue light blocking glasses, but you also want blue-green blockers. Now, the lens color, when you get into these, changes a bit. Instead of the amber orange sort of color, the glasses now become much more red in color in the lens. Now, here's the pros of blue-green blockers over just regular blue blockers. Sleep will be improved. You'll fall asleep faster. You'll sleep deeper. You'll have fewer night awakenings. You'll allow your body to spend more time in the brain restoring phases of deep sleep, and you'll produce more melatonin, and you'll have more energy and vitality during the day as a result of all of the above effects. It's also going to improve overall hormonal and neurotransmitter balance and the optimal levels of those hormones and neurotransmitters, which influence mood and energy and a host of other aspects of cell function. So here's the cons of blue-green blockers. I do want to present this because there are a couple cons. Number one, the lenses are darker than the orange-red glasses, so it's a little harder to see through them and see a person's eyes. So these are not really the type of glasses that you'll want to wear out to a party. They will make you look like a weirdo unless you're really, really comfortable with yourself and you just don't care. Most people will not be wearing these in a social setting. These are at-home glasses, but even there's a little bit of, if you tend to communicate with your partner and you like to see each other's eyes and you're sitting across from them at the table or something like that in the last hour before bed, or you're becoming intimate with one another and you're going to have sex, or you're making out or something like that, might be a little weird to wear the glasses and not be able to see the other person's eyes and so on. So that's definitely one of the cons. Now you can, if there's enough light, you can see through them and still see the person's eyes to some degree. It's just a little bit harder than, let's say, the more transparent, or more transparent is not the right word, but not as dark of lenses as the red lenses in the blue-green blockers. More importantly, the biggest downside is that by blocking blue and green light, you further decrease color perception. So when watching TV or if you're working on the computer, the biggest area where this is actually a real concern is in people who are graphic designers, for example, or need to be seeing accurate color perception in the same way that they see it during the daytime. They need that in order for their job or something to that effect. But for most people, this is just a slight inconvenience. Yeah, it's annoying and weird at first, but within a few nights, you really get used to it and it just doesn't become much of a big deal. But certainly at first, it takes some getting used to, because you don't get to have that same rich experience if you're watching a movie or a TV show that you really love. The colors are just a little bit off and a little flatter, almost a little bit more in the direction of black and white. And the reason why is, again, it's blocking the blue and green wavelengths. There's no way to block those wavelengths without also altering color perception. because those are one and the same thing. So sometimes people ask me, well, can I block those wavelengths but still see colors accurately? And the answer is no, you can't. That's the way our eyes and our optical system works, is that by blocking the wavelengths, you block the colors. So there are some negatives to be aware of here with these two cons that I just mentioned, but in my opinion, it's a small price to pay for better sleep, improved brain health, decreased risk of dozens of diseases that are linked with circadian disruption, and more energy, better hormonal health, and so on. So if you're serious about taking care of your health, in my opinion, taking care of your circadian rhythm and wearing blue-green blockers for at least an hour before bed is a must. This is an important strategy. I'm revising all my teachings that I've been teaching for many, many years now around blue blockers at night, and I am upgrading to blue-green blockers. So there's one other problem with blue blockers that I want you to be aware of. Not true of all blue blockers, but definitely a lot of the most popular ones that are on the market. In addition to the problem of not blocking green light, the other problem is that we have all of these kind of stylish new blue blockers that are coming onto the market, and it's like, you know, kind of block blue light, but do it in style and look good while doing it. Well, the problem is that a lot of these glasses, like the Ray-Ban, sort of 80s, 90s Ray-Ban style glasses, and a lot of the other ones that are on the market, they look cool, and I don't have any problem with looking cool and being stylish, but the problem is that they let light in from the sides because the lenses and the frames don't wrap around your eye socket, so they still let in light from the sides, often from the bottom and from the top. And any light that gets in, like let's say you're working on your computer and you just turn to the side for a moment, well, now you have a blast of light that's getting into your eyeballs that's missing that lens. It's not being filtered by that lens. So these types of glasses are just not very effective. Yeah, you look cool, but you're only sort of halfway blocking the blue light. The other thing to be aware of is some of these glasses have clear frames, and what can happen there is actually the light can get into the frame and kind of refract along in there, and then actually just get directed right into your eyes from the frame itself if you have a clear translucent frame. So that's another problem as well, but the bigger one is just the stylish glasses that don't wrap around the eye socket and let light in from the sides and so on. So two big problems here. Again, problem one is that they don't block green light, which we now know also suppresses melatonin and disrupts circadian rhythm. And the second problem is that they don't wrap around the eye socket. So these are two big problems. This is why most of the blue blockers on the market are just not very effective. So in addition to these two problems, one of the other things that happens is because light gets in through the sides, when that happens, sometimes light can actually be reflected off the lens. Instead of passing through the lens, it gets reflected off and bounced back or rerouted into your eyes. So that light that comes in from the side actually gets amplified a little bit by the lens because that lens is a blue blocker. It's the blue light kind of reflects off it and then can hit your eyes more easily. So you might have the experience of walking by some kind of light source and that light coming in through the sides and then kind of feeling it very sharply, noticing that it seems brighter and harsher than normal. So here's the real solution. You want two things in your glasses. You want blue and green blocking lenses, and you also want the glasses to wrap around the eye socket. Now, there are two brands now manufacturing glasses that are not incredibly expensive that meet these criteria. So the first company that did this is called True Dark, and they make some glasses called True Dark Twilights. These are great quality glasses, and lots of people love them and swear by them. My personal experience using them was that they didn't quite fit my face right and actually let some light in through the sides. And the lenses also felt too small, or the the frames and the lens area felt too small. It almost felt like it was constricting my vision a bit. So I actually found another pair that I prefer, which I'll tell you about in a second, but there's a couple other companies producing lights in this area or offering services. One is called Raw Optics, and this company makes lenses that blocks both blue and green light. They offer a custom tinting service where you can send them any pair of glasses you want, any frame type, including wraparound styles, and they will tint those lenses with blue-green blocking tint for you. This service is a bit pricey though for many people at $400+. There's also an Australian company called Blue Blocks with it's spelled BLUBLOX, so Blue Blocks. And they make good lenses that block both blue and green light completely. The only problem with this company, from my perspective, is that all of their glasses are more of that stylish sort of style. They're meant to look really good, and none of them wrap around the eye socket, so they still let light in from the sides. Then there's a company called Safety Blue, and they make a product called Sleep Savior. And this is another company making very similar glasses to the True Dark glasses. They actually look very, very similar, but have some significant differences. The lens, in terms of the blue-green blocking technology, they also block blue and green light completely. And I've personally tested them with the blue-green squares that I mentioned earlier to you. So they do work completely to block blue and green light. The difference is, this company actually reached out to me personally because they've seen some of my writings on circadian rhythm and asked me what kind of blue blocking glasses I would like to see created. And basically what I told them is the True Darks are great. Just for me personally, I think the frames were a bit small and my vision, as I said, felt a little constricted. And also there was a little bit of not such great fit on the sides that still let light in from the sides. So what I said is, can you make glasses that are similar, that adhere to that basic concept of wraparound glasses that are both blue and green blockers, but do bigger frames and a bigger lens area so I feel my vision is not being constricted, and maybe make cushions on the glasses on the frames, and maybe semi-attached cushions that can kind of mold to the shape of a person's face a bit better. So that is exactly what they did. About 6 months ago, I gave them that advice, and just recently, as of like 6 weeks ago, they reached out to me and said, here's the glasses. They sent me a pair. I love them. And I now use these every night, and they are my new favorite health toy because they're just wonderful. And even going from consistently wearing blue blockers, I noticed a significant jump and improvement in how fast I fell asleep and how deeply I slept once I started using these glasses. So here are my recommendations for the top blue-green blocking glasses to get. My top two choices are the Safety Blues and the True Darks. Again, my personal preference is the Safety Blues because of the larger lens area and the semi-attached cushion that molds to the face. But the True Darks are certainly also very high quality glasses that work. It's just a matter, for me, at least personally, of the face fit around the eye socket and blocking light completely, as well as the lens area and whether my vision was constricted or not. In addition, the Safety Blues are about $20 cheaper. They're $59 as opposed to $79 for the True Darks. And also, I'm affiliated with both of these brands, and I highly recommend both of these glasses. So I'm going to provide you guys with affiliate links. So here are my recommendations for the top blue-green blockers on the market. So just to get real practical and just tell you exactly what I recommend, my top two choices are the Safety Blue and the True Dark wraparound style red glasses. Obviously, my personal preference is for the Safety Blues for the reasons I mentioned previously, the larger lens area, and whether my vision was constricted or not. My vision felt a little constricted with the True Darks, and also the letting light in from the side. So for me, the semi-attached cushion on the safety blues works really, really well to block out light pretty much completely, as complete as is possible to get without like wrapping a scarf around the glasses and blindfolding yourself. So those are my top two choices, both excellent quality glasses that do the job, that block blue and green light completely. They're both excellent. One other factor I should mention, the True Darks are $79 and the Safety Blues are $59. In addition, I'm going to provide you guys with a link that will get you an additional $10 off the Safety Blues. As I said, they're a friend of mine, so I asked them to give a discount. And I'm also very thankful that they went and took all my advice in how to create the best pair of blue blockers and actually listened to what I said and went out and created the glasses that I asked them to. So the other service to be aware of here is if you have a custom pair of glasses and you want to make them blue-green blockers, you can use the company Raw Optics. They have a service that will do that for you, and I've only heard great things about them. The other thing I should mention is if you need fit over glasses, like if you have prescription reading glasses or prescription seeing glasses, eyeglasses, and you need to wear them at nighttime and you want a pair of blue-green blockers to fit over those, True Dark also makes some fit overs, and I would highly, highly recommend those. So even if you need fit overs, you can still get blue-green blockers. So I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. I hope you learned something new. I hope that this information that green light also affects circadian rhythm is meaningful and important to you. I hope you're going to take action on it. I hope you also grasp the concept of the stylish glasses that kind of sit off the eye socket a bit, letting light in from the sides and from the top and from the bottom, that is actually a very big problem. And it's not necessarily the case that you are just as good without them completely, like it's a total waste. It's certainly blocking some of the blue light and is not a complete waste, but a step up from that would be standard blue blockers, just maybe the UVEX brand, for example, that do wrap around the eye socket. So now you correct that issue. A step up from that is these blue and green blocking glasses. And then the highest step is the blue-green blocking glasses that also wrap around the eye socket and completely block out the light from all around the whole sides of the glasses. One other quick thing I want to mention is that if you can't afford either of these glasses, if these are out of your price range, if you're struggling and living month to month, one thing that I would suggest is get the $10 UVEX blue blocking glasses that wrap around the eye socket, the kind of construction worker style. They're very effective at blocking blue light. One other issue with blue light blocking glasses that I didn't mention completely is that a number of the glasses that claim to be blue blockers only block a part of the overall blue spectrum, and they don't block it completely. So there's some false advertising out there on that subject. But the UVEX brand has been tested and validated to completely eliminate the entire blue spectrum. So if you can afford nothing else, nothing beyond 10 bucks, I would suggest at least getting those. Those are certainly a lot better than doing nothing. And then if you can afford it, go for the Safety Blues or the True Darks. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you'd like to get links to purchase either the Safety Blue or the True Darks, as well as get my $10 off discount code for the Safety Blue, please go to theenergyblueprint.com, best blue blocking glasses. Theenergyblueprint.com, best blue blocking glasses, just with a dash or a hyphen in between each word. So best blue blocking glasses. Theenergyblueprint.com /best-blue-blocking-glasses. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you learned some good new information. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to my podcast, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please leave me a review on iTunes. I would greatly appreciate it. And all the best to you. I'll see you again very soon.